Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. The Ukrainians are giving us information on what the Russians are doing, and they say the Russian forces step up activities on two fronts. Now, obviously, that cannot really be trusted, but I guarantee you that if they report such a thing, they will turn this in a good thing for them. It's like you go to an interview. When you go to an interview and they ask you, tell me a time when you failed in one of your tasks. You're not going to say, well, I was dumb and I blew up everything and I dilapidated the company with about $2 billion. You're not going to say it that way. You're going to say it in a certain way, and then at the end you're going to turn it into, see, that's an asset. Yes, I screwed up a little bit over there. It was not because of me. It was a little bit, but then I caught it and I changed it in an asset. I made it something positive. The same here. I mean, that's how you're supposed to do it in an interview, just so you know. So here the Ukrainians say, well, the Russians step up military activities on two fronts. And I guarantee you, I didn't read the article, but I guarantee you, further down, they will say, well, yes, but we block them and we surround them and we on them and all that. But the fact is, no, I think those guys are just coming over Red Rover. Let's read the article. I have two articles, actually. I have an article and a map, so we can verify it with the Russians, which, both sides are lying, but what can you do? These are the people we work with. Not the people, the entities. Because we are in a war right here. We are not in a peaceful situation. So, Ukrainska Pravda, June 2nd, 2023. Russian forces step up activities on two fronts. You say, oh my God, they're advancing, they're coming over. But let's see what the Ukrainians did. Russian troops have stepped up their activities on the Kupiansk and Lyman fronts. However, you see, that however changes the whole thing here. This is like, yeah, I did this and I did that, but however, this is what I did after that. I made it even better than it was before I screw up. The Ukrainian Defense Forces repelled all attacks by the Russian invaders over the past 24 hours. Now, let's see where Kupiansk and Lyman fronts are. We're going to go to these evil guys, which is Sputnik. So this is Ukraine, this is where the war occurs, this is what the Russians have. So Kupiansk are right here and Lyman in this area. In Kharkiv area and in Luhansk. Are they in Luhansk? Let me see, I think so, yeah. So we have here, Lyman, let's start with this one right here. So Kupiansk is right here. This is Kupiansk, and Lyman is a little bit south, which would be right here. So Lyman is where my little hand is, and the other ones are right here, Kupiansk. On the Russian map, this is from yesterday. I don't see any, step up, just bombardments or thing, but this comes from the Russians. But if I go one day before, you see these black AK-47s, that means where there were clashes, direct clashes between the Ukrainians, or at least one side and the other, let's put it this way. I come back today, those disappeared. So yesterday, not today, this is actually on the 1st, and this was 2 days ago. So let's see what the Russians say here in this Kupiansk area. Assault units of the Zapad group hammered Ukrainian troops using aviation, heavy flamethrower systems, and artillery strikes during active operations. In Lyman, they don't say anything. They just say we bombarded something. Units of the center group struck Ukrainian troops using air and artillery strikes. But let's go to yesterday. Again, in Lyman right here, nothing. And in Kupiansk, only this. Russian forces thwarted the activity of Ukrainian sabotage and reconnaissance groups. Let's go to the Ukrainians. Let's see what they say. This article comes from the 2nd. So whatever happened yesterday, let's see what time it is here. This is 4:07 a.m. So they actually report what happened on the 1st, which is this right here, which is this. So they don't say what happened today yet. This is what happened yesterday. That's why I checked to see when this was published at a.m. today, which they had information from yesterday. So let's see. Russian troops have stepped up. Okay, we got that one. Serhiy Cherevarty. We don't have Mrs. Aluzny anymore. Spokesman for the Eastern Group he usually doesn't come and give us make statements. That's to be fair. Spokesman for the Eastern Group of Forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine on air during the national 24/7 newscast. And I'm quoting, the enemy has been gaining momentum there on the Kupiansk-Lyman front. 11 combat engagements and 632 artillery strikes occurred over the past 24 hours. We repelled all enemy attacks and dealt them losses. 58 invaders were killed, 94 were wounded, and 2 were captured. We destroyed 7 tanks, 2 mortars, a Rapira anti-tank gun, a Lancet attack drone, and 11 motor vehicles. End quote. I told you these guys destroyed the Russians, so the title should be actually differently. We massacred the Russians in their feeble attempts. Okay, let's see. Sherevati believes that the, and I'm quoting, major offensive announced by the Russians in the winter is coming to an end and has been limited to efforts to attack the Bakhmut, Kupiansk, and Lyman fronts. So that was limited, what they say, the winter offensive on this area right here. Bakhmut is Artemovsk, which is right here. It's all done, no more AK-47. So they thought this was right here, the offensive, Russian offensive. Now we're waiting for the Ukrainian offensive. They've been talking about it from since February, I think, or January. February. So then we are right now, just to give you the date, on the 2nd of June. Still waiting. Like Chris Rea waiting for the summer song. Yeah, we're waiting for the counteroffensive. Quote, in Bakhmut, we see that due to heavy losses, the Russians are forced to regroup and replace troop groups. There have been no significant advances, significant. That's the key word. On the Kupiansk-Lyman front, they have suffered heavy losses. Again, good for us, no significant advances. All of this boils down to the main result. Yeah, let's listen to it, Sherevati. The exhaustion of the enemy and the knocking out of its military potential. Good job. So we basically fuck them up. So the title goes to garbage. Nothing. Now, no significant advances. My direct, actually I put it that way. My assessment is that the Russians advanced 3 times more than he reports, and his achievements are 3 times less than he reports. The same method, the same, how should I put it, way of finding out what the truth might be applies to the Russians as well. When the Russians tell you we hit 10 targets, they hit about 3. The same with the Ukrainians. Where Ukrainians say they blew up 10 Russian targets, again, probably they hit 3. When they say, well, we had only 3 groups attacked, that you get it to 10, like almost, or 9, 3 times more. That's my rule that I got to learn in my direct experience with these guys. They say something, their losses, they minimize it 3 times. Their gains, they maximize them 3 times. Go by that and you will be much closer to the truth that these guys are vomiting on us every day. But hey, it's a war over there. I understand. I'm not going here to say, hey, you're lying. Yes, we all lie. Now they lie more than everybody else because their lives are at stake. And I understand that completely. But we have to maneuver to this garbage. And how do you maneuver? By reading a lot, looking at it from different perspectives, verify, be skeptical, and see patterns. Memorize incidents and see patterns, because those patterns you can use them in the future, because they're going to do the same thing over and over. The rules of war engagement are the same. Were the same, are the same. Okay, I want to destroy you, and then from there you ramify it. How? This. They were used thousands of years. When you think that, hey, we have different strategies, they still use the Roman versus Carthage strategies. They still use the same canaille strategy, whether done by, what's his name? Oh my God, Hannibal against the Romans, when they slaughtered about, I don't know, 50,000 Romans over there. They encircle them and so on. They use the same. Napoleon used the same thing. They still study that as the basics. And then they go to details, little details. And instead of now throwing a spear, now they send a missile. It's the only difference, it's just the technology. The same, you send guys are going to give you the information, how you send them, how do you get the information, the same way. I read a book, I can't remember when, a long time ago anyway, since I'm old, about the Roman method of gathering information in the field. And they had three levels, three kinds, and three, ranges. One was close, the other one further, and the other one furthest. And they had different, obviously, tasks, but the main task was to gather information. But they had different, the same is right now. The same is that they call it differently now, but it's the same technique because the same thing. Those guys were smart. And okay, what do we do? And we just tweaked it a little bit according to our new. We wear this. We got here a little camera right here. They didn't have the camera. That was their camera then. They have recording devices now. Then they had this and their brains to memorize it. Now, for instance, what did you say? I just told you 3 times. Oh, my bad. No, that's how we are now. That's why we need all kind of devices. Yeah, let's memorize that. What is that? Memorize what? Oh, tape it, record it. Okay, now. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.